Hello, ancestry cousins and inquiring minds. So I wanted to do a video. I had it in my mind for a while. Since I'm just telling stories and not sharing documents, it doesn't weigh on my mind so heavily. But I do have it saved on my tree. So you could go see. It's just that the people on Ancestry won't be able to see. I mean, on YouTube won't be able to see. But if you are my cousin, you could go in there and look up anything that I'm talking to you about because I save everything on the tree. Okay. So when I was just made a cousin a video about a cousin that I had found that was found in Rock Creek Park in Kingar. So I was tracing her descendants through obituaries. Obituaries, ooh, obituaries are brick wall breakers. I'm telling you. If you do not have newspaper subscriptions, okay, let me hit on this right quick. I have additional newspaper subscriptions other than the ancestry subscription because it was not adequate enough to didn't give me all this stuff because I also subscribe to Genealogy Bank and I recently started subscribing to the Washington Post because I'm a Washingtonian, so you should have access to the Washington Post. And Genealogy Bank and Ancestry Newspaper, even Newspaper Plus, is not going to have newspapers like probably the New York Times, the Washington Post, things like that. You're going to have to pay for those subscriptions. Luckily, I got in on a low price on the Washington Post, and I've been satisfied with my subscription with the Washington Post. I got it at the end of last year when everything was low, and they may be hitting my bank account now. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to check. So yeah, newspapers for those obituaries. Those obituaries can break down brick walls, but they also can lead you in misdirection because of what I have coined. Don't be trying to take my stuff. I'm telling you, blood ties versus love lies. And I have come across this so much that it's just like this is why the DNA stuff is just so important to me because I had so many love lies that without that blood ties, my tree be all wrong. I be calling everybody else the great. I be all the way up these branches somewhere all wrong because it's deep. And I understand the connection, but when you start giving out false information to be inclusive, to show that love, I have had to correct. I actually went on Find a Grave and created a new obit for a loved one because the information on the one that was submitted for the public was not factual. And so I believe that when it comes to that, we should be as true as possible because you may have someone coming along like me that's looking for their family, and then when you include people that are not actually because they have those love lies included, then it messes up the genealogy research basically. So um, I was going through all of these obits and the story. Okay, so I was going through all these obits, and then I see this one where they include these extra people, and I'm like, who are these people, right? So I started going through the census, and their names were different. So I was like, who are they? The last names were different. So I looked at the census prior to or something. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And I was like, well, wait a minute, they're down here with these people. You know what I'm saying? And so I found an obit, I think for both of them, but I lost one of probably somewhere on my computer. And it basically said that they were adopted by that woman. So I guess when this person passed, they just stayed with the family, which she got married and her name was no longer Keith. I'm not going to say the name, but they were like just I guess adopted or just blended into the family. And so every time I would see an obit, it included their names. And so, but I went in and I know that they weren't those children because the woman that was on the same census said that she had adopted them. And so, if it just goes on. So that's like the second or third time that I found something like that. So I just say we should be truthful when we're writing obituary information if because they may not even know because this thing go on and on and on. This cousin, this is my cousin. I was talking to when my stepdad passed. I was talking to one of his cousins, and I said, "So how y'all related?" Then he's like, "I don't even know." And, so he goes on and tell us this story about when when my stepdad's sister passed, was sick and she was passing, and he went to see her in the hospital, and she said, "And tell your mother, kiss my black A." And I was like, "What?" He said that. I was rolling. Me and my mother was like, "What?" It was anyway, it was like whatever that girl was, she took it to the grave. She's like, "I'm mad, I'm gonna be mad, I'm taking it to the grave angry." So yeah, so anyway, you have to look out for that. So if you be adding people on your tree sometimes and you be thinking they are because they in them obituaries, and they not. So make sure that you're checking as far as you can or as best as you can, the people that are included um as family members on the census. Is like, when did they pop up? I actually have in my key family, I think it was the 1900 census. It's three people. That's why I said in that household, 10 people in a two 4-room house, one living room, one kitchen, two rooms upstairs, outhouse, water pump outside to get your water. I guess like when were the 10 people sleeping? So it was three people that was last name Foster, and my grandmother said they was her children, but it was like they couldn't have been your children. I mean, they the age and the last name. Why wouldn't they last name have been? Well, her last name was Keith. So anyway, that's something that we definitely have to pay attention to. And you can if they don't have it on filing grave, you can write a correct one like I did. So I mean, I think that because it's like come along 30 years later, I'm gone. I hope, I don't want to be at that. I don't know. Or 40 years later. And then somebody else comes along and they're trying to do their genealogy and they, looking at these old bits and stuff, and they see a conflict there because they're gonna see two. And they're gonna be like, which one is true? So I don't know. I don't think Ancestry gonna be around by then. I mean, these companies come and go. Because the first DNA test I took originally with, it's still in my bin, the little DNA thing, the results. But I don't know what happened to that company because it was nothing. They did not have what Ancestry has. And I don't want to be to no horn on Ancestry, but if I had not taken that Ancestry DNA test, I wouldn't know nothing. I'm telling you, I be doing my genealogy research so much and read the newspapers and doing all this. I really don't be really thinking about TV or what's going on. I think I pay attention to what's going on out in my peripheral, what's going on outside, like the government and stuff like that. But people's, just keeping in contact with people and stuff like that, I really would rather not. But just all just just to check in on people was sitting around doing all that gossip and stuff. I'd rather be on Ancestry, being nosy, digging up some dirt, seeing what was going on in 1850. Because if you have a Chronicling America, that's my joy. Oh my gosh. That's where I get most of my newspaper articles from. So if you go on my tree and you see that obits and stuff got red on it, that's because I use Chronicling America. And when I put these quotes, these things on the front end, so if I did like Alberta Hopkins, I would have put one in the front and in the back so they would be together. Because if not, it's going to look for Alberta and Hopkins or Keys down here and all over the place. So when you put them together, it'll search like that first. And Chief Langley was the one that told me about that site. I really enjoyed my time on Facebook and being with the House of Ancestry. But I just it just being on Facebook was a distraction. So I just want to say that. Yeah, I spent so much time, but I was all over the place in this, in that, in that. So when I got off of Facebook, I still go in there, but I used my husband's account just to check like some of those genealogy groups and stuff that I was in, and look for some things like in High Point, North Carolina, what they doing down there, the Mendenhall House. I got some stories to tell y'all about all that stuff later. But I've been doing genealogy for a while, and I love genealogy road trips. So yeah, I will be like, let's go. And my husband like, really? Yeah, yeah, let's go. Like, where are we going? We're going to another cemetery area. You ain't gonna find them heads. I really don't. It's been the only cemetery that I went to where it was like all coals was when I went to Turner Chapel. And I was amazed because I wanted to say this too, because we're talking about obits and all that stuff. That's the cemeteries. You look for like churches, local churches in that area and stuff, and you have to know like when those churches were built. Did they have fires? You have to know like the years of everything, like when birth certificates started for each place that you're researching. So you should know that when death certificates started, and in the county, if it's the state or the county, when they were requiring those records or whatever, and then when they were burnt, because during the Civil War, they gave who was burning everything. And I will say again, if you have not read those slave narratives from ancestors from the areas that you were researching, you should, because it just gives you a mindset of not only from both perspectives of two sides of, what they remember, the people that are telling these slave narratives, the old slaves, that what they remember of those times or when they came through for the Civil War. Now, when I read the Chronicling America and I research like just Fort Stevens, that's all I've been looking for. But Fort Stevens is where I live, you know what I'm saying? It's right up the street. So I'm like, and they had this, it's just funny to think that that was a battleground. I didn't got all off track. I said, whoosh, okay. Back to the obituaries. So the obituaries, checking local cemeteries, and of course, if you can, anybody you could talk to in your family that knows the old history of that area. And it could be, like I said, if you're on Facebook, go in and search for like groups, stuff like that have that's in that area that. Because I got in contact, I was on Ancestry. This is a quick. And my my third great grandfather, Wyatt Presley Raper, I had a drawing of him that I got from my family because, I don't even know none of them. Nobody, I don't know nobody. Okay, I didn't know anybody growing up, just me and my mama. So when I had a drawing from a book that my cousin had gave me, it actually comes out of this book right here for the co-raper reunion, and it was a drawing of him. And so Sean Rogers of the Mendenhall House had contacted me. He asked me, messaged me, and said, "Where'd you get this picture?" And I told him, and he said he had another one. He had a newer, up to date one. So I was like, oh, you know. So he sent it to me, and it's like, and it's on my tree, and it's like him with his second wife, and he's standing in front of his log cabin, which is across the road from the Turner Chapel Church and the school and all that stuff. So I was like, and I went there, and I didn't have a lot of time to spend there because my husband's like, he wanted to get to his mom. I be out here trying to chase information on dead people. He want to go spend time with his little mama. So I couldn't say nothing against that because he give me all the time. He grumble, but he do it. So he's a genealogist in the background. He's the support staff. So that's it. That's all I got to say this time. Thank you for watching. I hope you watch again, and I hope that was a tip or two.